Ladies and gentlemen, life doesn't always go the way we expect. We walk through this world carrying burdens, some of which we can't see, some that others may never understand. And there are moments in life, sometimes days, weeks, even years, when the weight of what we're feeling seems too heavy to carry. That's when we face something that many of us don't know how to talk about: depression. Now, I know some of you are sitting there thinking, I've been struggling for so long and I'm just tired. And I hear you, I see you. That exhaustion, that heaviness, it can feel like it's never going to lift. It's like you're walking through life with a weight that no one else sees, and it's isolating. It can make you wonder, what's the point of it all? Why does it feel like I'm stuck in this dark place with no way out? But I'm here to tell you something that I want you to hold on to for the rest of your life. Healing from depression is a journey, not a race. And I know you've heard that before. I know you've heard people tell you to hang in there or keep going. But today I want to dive deeper into what that means, because I don't want you to just hear it. I want you to feel it. I want you to understand that healing, real healing, is not about racing to get better. It's about taking one step at a time, even if that step feels small, even if it feels like you're crawling at times. Every single step you take is progress. The first thing I want you to understand is that it's okay to not be okay. We have a tendency in this society to always want to show the world our best self, to project an image of strength. We hide behind our smiles, our achievements, our accomplishments, but underneath it all, we're hurting. And that's okay. There is no shame in feeling broken. There is no shame in feeling lost. You are not weak because you feel these things. You are human. Healing doesn't mean that you're going to wake up one day and feel perfectly fine. It doesn't work that way. It's not a magical switch that gets flipped and suddenly everything is right again. Healing is a process, a series of steps, and it's messy. Sometimes it feels like 2 steps forward and 1 step back, and that's okay. That's how it works. You might take some steps that feel like setbacks, but those steps don't mean you failed. They mean you're still in the fight. And that's what matters. In the journey of healing, there will be days when you feel like you're making no progress at all. And that's normal. The road to recovery doesn't have a set path. There's no map, no GPS guiding you through. There are moments where it's hard to even get out of bed. There are moments where it feels like the world is moving on and you're stuck in place. But I need you to hear me when I say this: you are moving. Even when you can't see it, even when it doesn't feel like it, you're moving. Every time you acknowledge the pain, every time you speak up about how you're feeling, you are making progress. Every small decision to take care of yourself, even if it's just getting out of bed and brushing your teeth, that's progress. And it's okay if that's all you can do today. That's more than enough. So what does healing really look like? It's not a perfect linear process. It's not all sunshine and roses. There will be days when you feel overwhelmed, when you feel like you've taken a few steps backward. But I want you to remember something: you're not broken beyond repair. The fact that you are still here, the fact that you are still breathing, still fighting, that is the definition of strength. Let me be clear: healing from depression is not something that will happen overnight. It's not a race. It's a journey. Some days the journey might feel like it's moving in slow motion. You might look around and feel like everyone else has it together, like they're running ahead while you're stuck. But that's not the truth. Everyone has their own battles. Everyone is facing something, even if it's not visible on the surface. I know it's easy to get caught up in comparison, to feel like everyone else is handling life better than you are. But the truth is, comparison is a thief. It steals your peace. It steals your joy. It convinces you that you're failing because you're not moving at the same pace as someone else. But the truth is, your journey is yours alone. You have to trust your own pace. Some people will move faster. Some people will move slower. But it doesn't matter. What matters is that you're moving. What matters is that you're taking steps, no matter how small they seem. That's where the real healing happens, in the moments where you show up for yourself, when you choose to take that next step, even if it feels impossible. You see, the beauty of healing is that it's not about reaching some destination where everything is perfect. Healing is about progress, not perfection. It's about acknowledging where you are right now and taking that next step, even if it's just a small one. It's about being gentle with yourself when you feel like you're not where you think you should be. And yes, there will be days when you feel like the weight is too much. There will be days when you're tired. You'll feel discouraged, frustrated, and maybe even hopeless. But remember this, those feelings are temporary. Just like the storm passes, so will these feelings. They may come back, but they will not last forever. You will find moments of peace. You will find moments of joy. Even in the darkest times, there is always a glimmer of light. One of the most important things you can do in this journey is learn to ask for help. Healing is not something you have to do alone. There is no shame in seeking support from others, whether that's a therapist, a friend, a family member, or even a support group. You don't have to carry this burden on your own. Asking for help doesn't make you weak, it makes you strong. It takes courage to say, I need help. And that's one of the most powerful steps you can take. There will also be times when you have to let go of certain things, whether that's negative thoughts, toxic relationships, or behaviors that are holding you back. Healing requires you to release what no longer serves you. Sometimes it means walking away from the things that bring you down, even if it's difficult. And that's okay. You are not being selfish by prioritizing your mental health. You are choosing to invest in yourself, and that is the most important thing you can do. You have to learn to love yourself again, even when you don't feel like it. I know that's hard. I know that when you're in the midst of depression, it's easy to feel like you're unworthy of love, like you're not enough. But I want to remind you that you are enough. You are worthy of all the love, compassion, and kindness that you extend to others. I don't forget that. Healing begins when you recognize your worth. Another piece of advice I want to give you is this: celebrate the small victories. Maybe today you made it through a tough day without giving up. Maybe you reached out to someone for support. Maybe you got out of bed, and that was the hardest thing you've done all week. Whatever it is, celebrate it. Those small steps add up. They are victories, and they matter. You might not see it right now, but those small wins are building the foundation for something bigger. They are leading you to a place where you can look back and say, I did that. I got through that, and I am stronger for it. Healing takes time. Healing takes patience. And it takes a whole lot of love for yourself, love for the people around you, and love for the process. Some days will be harder than others. Some days you won't have the energy to fight. But I want you to remember this: you don't have to do it all at once. It's okay to take a break. It's okay to rest. Healing doesn't happen on a set schedule. There's no deadline. You get there when you get there, and that's okay. So if you're feeling lost, if you're feeling like you're never going to make it out, I want you to know this: you will make it out. It might not be today. It might not be tomorrow. But I promise you, one step at a time, you will get there. You will find your way back to peace. You will find your way back to joy. And when you do, you'll be stronger than you ever imagined. Healing is not a race, it's a journey. And you, my friend, are on your way. Keep moving. Keep fighting. And most importantly, keep believing that better days are ahead. You've got this. Healing from depression is a gradual process that takes time and patience. It's not about rushing toward an end goal, but about taking one step at a time, no matter how small, and trusting your own pace. Acknowledging that you're struggling is a powerful first step. There's no shame in feeling broken or lost. These are human experiences, and healing begins with self-compassion. Healing isn't linear, and setbacks are normal. Focus on the small victories, even if they feel insignificant. Each step forward, no matter how tiny, is still progress. Healing doesn't have to be done alone. Seeking support, whether from friends, family, or professionals, is not a sign of weakness, but a courageous act of self-care. Healing requires both self-love and patience. You must learn to accept yourself, prioritize your mental health, and celebrate the small victories along the way. Healing from depression is a process that unfolds gradually, not something that happens overnight. It's a journey, and like all journeys, it has its peaks and valleys. For many, the notion of healing conjures images of a clear destination, someplace where everything feels better, where life is no longer burdened by pain, and where the world feels light again. But the truth is that healing isn't as simple as reaching some fixed point. It's not a race with a finish line where once you cross, everything is magically okay. Healing is about taking one step after another, often uncertain steps, as you learn to understand yourself better, rebuild your sense of well-being, and navigate the complexities of your emotional landscape. When you're in the midst of depression, it's easy to think you should be further along than you are. You might feel like you're lagging behind, like everyone around you is moving forward while you're stuck in place. But that's a trap. Comparing your healing journey to someone else's only creates frustration and self-doubt. The truth is, your path is yours alone, and it will take the time it needs to take. Everyone's journey to healing is different because we all experience life differently. Some people may seem to bounce back quickly while others need more time. That doesn't make one journey more valid than the other. It simply means that healing is a deeply personal process and there is no set timeline. In a world that often values speed and productivity, we are conditioned to think that everything must have a quick resolution. Whether it's work, relationships, or even our emotional struggles, we're taught to move fast, to keep going, to push through, and to never stop until we finish what we started. But healing doesn't fit into that narrative. It's not about achieving something in a set amount of time. It's about allowing yourself the grace to move at your own pace without the pressure of deadlines. The fact is, the more you resist rushing through your healing, the more you allow yourself to fully experience it, the more effective it will be in the long run. One of the hardest things to accept during the healing process is that there's no right way to heal. There's no checklist, no guidebook, no one-size-fits-all solution. Some people find solace in therapy or counseling, while others may prefer to lean on friends, family, or spirituality. For some, exercise and physical health play a significant role in their recovery, while for others, the key lies in cultivating inner peace through mindfulness or creative expression. There's no universal method, and that's okay. What matters is finding what works for you, no matter how unconventional it might seem. What works for someone else may not resonate with you, and that's perfectly fine. At the same time, there will be days when progress feels non-existent. You may have moments when it seems like you're not getting any better, that you've taken one step forward but 3 steps back. On those days, it's easy to think that you'll never heal, that you'll never escape the suffocating weight of your thoughts. But remember this, healing isn't about smooth, uninterrupted forward motion. It's about navigating through ups and downs, forward and backward, with the awareness that every day you are still moving, even if it doesn't feel like it. When we talk about healing, we often think of the end result, getting back to normal or feeling fully restored. But true healing is about learning to live with what has happened, accepting the scars, and building a new life from where you are. It's about finding peace, not perfection. It's about recognizing that life is never going to be without struggle, and that's okay. Healing doesn't erase the past. It allows you to move forward in spite of it. It doesn't make the pain disappear, but it teaches you how to manage it, to accept it as part of your story without letting it define you. The key to this journey is patience. Patience with yourself, patience with the process, patience with the uncertainty that comes with healing. It's easy to become frustrated when things don't seem to change as quickly as we hope. We live in an era where instant gratification is everywhere, where we can get things done in the blink of an eye. And it's easy to expect our mental health to improve just as quickly. But healing isn't like that. It requires time. Time to reflect, time to heal the wounds, time to adjust your mindset and emotions. The more you can embrace the time it takes, the more you will allow the healing to actually happen. In this journey, there will be moments when you feel hopeless, when it feels like you're not moving at all, but I want you to understand something. Even in those moments of stillness, something is happening. Your body and mind are processing, integrating, and adjusting. Healing doesn't always look like constant progress. Sometimes it looks like rest. It looks like giving yourself permission to not always be doing or fixing. Sometimes it's about simply being without the pressure to constantly push forward. One of the most important things to remember during your healing process is that it's okay to have bad days. It's okay to feel like you've hit a wall. It's okay to feel exhausted, frustrated, and like you're not getting anywhere. These are all part of the human experience. You don't need to be better all the time. You don't need to be healed in every single moment. Healing is a messy process, and sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is to simply accept that you're not okay in that moment, and that's enough. It's important to let go of the need to fix yourself. We live in a world that constantly tells us we need to improve, to be better, to always be striving for something more. But healing isn't about fixing something broken. It's about nurturing what's hurting and allowing it to heal in its own time. It's about acknowledging that right now you may not be where you want to be, and that's okay. It's about trusting that in time you will get there, but only if you give yourself the time and space to heal on your own terms. Another aspect of the journey is learning to set realistic expectations for yourself. If you're expecting yourself to snap out of it quickly, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. No one heals in a straight line, and no one's journey looks the same. Some days will be better than others. Some days you'll feel like you're back at square one, but that doesn't mean you failed. It doesn't mean you're never going to get better. It just means that you're still in the process. And that's where you're supposed to be right now. As you move through this journey, you will find that healing involves more than just feeling better. It involves growth. It involves discovering parts of yourself that you didn't know were there, parts of yourself that have been hidden or suppressed. You will learn about your resilience, your strength, and your ability to rise again. Even when you feel like you can't go on, you will be amazed at how much strength lies within you. And that strength is part of the healing. Every day you survive, every day you keep going, even in the face of adversity, is a testament to your resilience. Even when it doesn't feel like it, you are growing. In the end, the journey of healing from depression is about more than just recovering. It's about transformation. It's about taking the pain you've experienced and using it to become a more compassionate, self-aware, and resilient person. It's about taking the time you need to heal without comparing your progress to anyone else's, and understanding that this is your journey and it's unfolding exactly as it should. Healing is not a race. It's a journey that takes time, patience, and self-compassion. It's a journey that involves taking one step at a time, even when that step feels like a crawl. And it's a journey that, no matter how long it takes, will ultimately lead you to a place of peace, acceptance, and self-love. Every step you take is a victory. Every day you keep going is a triumph. And you are getting there, even when it doesn't feel like it. There's a silent pressure that weighs heavily on many of us to always be okay. We live in a world that values productivity, strength, and outward appearances, a world that often demands that we smile when we feel like crying, keep moving when we feel like stopping, and push forward even when every part of us is screaming for rest. This expectation to be okay can feel suffocating, especially when we're not. When we're battling our inner demons, when life feels like it's too much to carry, when our minds and bodies seem to be in a constant state of exhaustion and distress, there's this quiet but intense sense of shame that we often carry with us. We wonder if there's something wrong with us, if we're failing somehow, if we're broken beyond repair. But here's the truth that we all need to hear. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to feel lost, to feel hopeless, to feel like you're drowning. It's okay to not have all the answers, to not know how you're going to get through the day or the week or the month. It's okay to admit that things are hard, even when the world expects you to be strong, to be resilient, to have it all together. The pressure to constantly be on and okay can make us believe that there's something wrong with us when we struggle, when we feel down, when we can't seem to find our footing. We think that we're supposed to be happy always, or at least appear like we've got it under control. But that's not real life, and it's not the truth of what it means to be human. The reality is that life isn't always easy. We go through seasons of joy, but we also go through seasons of sorrow, pain, and confusion. Sometimes those seasons last longer than we expect, and that's when the weight becomes unbearable. We start to think that the storm will never end, that the clouds will never part, and we'll never see the light of day again. But I want to remind you of something. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to be in that storm and still feel like you're not sure how to keep going. You don't need to have all the answers, and you don't need to feel better right away. Healing, growth, and peace don't happen on someone else's timeline. They happen on yours, and that's something we have to come to terms with. It's a difficult truth, but it's also a freeing one. There's a myth in our culture that we should always be happy, that if we're not happy, there's something wrong with us. This myth creates shame around difficult emotions and experiences, making us feel like we have to hide our struggles, mask our pain, and pretend that everything is fine even when it's not. But here's the thing, no one is okay all the time. No one has it all together all the time. No one feels happy or fulfilled every minute of every day. It's part of the human condition to experience a wide range of emotions. And sometimes those emotions aren't pleasant. They can be overwhelming, confusing, and painful, but that doesn't make them any less valid. You don't need to hide your feelings or feel embarrassed about them. Feeling sad, angry, anxious, or uncertain doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're alive and you're experiencing life in all its complexity. There's a beautiful, quiet power in accepting where you are, in embracing the truth that sometimes life is hard, and it's okay to admit it. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, to acknowledge that we are struggling, we are giving ourselves the space to heal. We are acknowledging our pain instead of denying it, which is the first step toward moving through it. When we pretend to be okay when we're not, we create a barrier between ourselves and the help we need, whether it's from others or from ourselves. We hide our true feelings, pushing them deeper and deeper inside until one day we can't keep them in any longer. I want you to hear me when I say this. You don't have to be strong all the time. It's okay to admit that you're not okay. It's okay to say, I'm struggling right now, or I don't have the energy to keep going today. There is no shame in feeling what you're feeling. You don't need to apologize for not being okay. You don't need to make excuses or pretend. You are human, and part of being human is experiencing hardship. When you stop pretending to be fine, you create the opportunity to heal. You give yourself permission to sit with your emotions, to process them, to let them move through you. Now, I know that it can be scary to admit that you're not okay. We live in a world where vulnerability is often seen as a weakness, and many of us have been conditioned to think that we need to have everything together at all times. We worry about what others will think if they know we're struggling. We fear being judged or rejected. But I want to tell you something important. Being vulnerable is not weakness, it's strength. It takes courage to admit when you're hurting, to allow others to see your pain, and to ask for help when you need it. It takes strength to be honest about your feelings and to not hide behind a mask of perfection. It's also important to understand that not being okay doesn't mean you're failing. We often equate struggle with failure, but that's not true. Struggling doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're working through something. It means you're navigating the challenges of life the best way you know how. Struggling is a natural part of the process of growth. Think about it, without struggle, there can be no growth. The difficult times are the ones that teach us the most about ourselves, about our strength, our resilience, and our ability to bounce back. When we acknowledge that we're not okay, we open the door to change, to healing, and to transformation. So if you're in a place right now where you feel like you're not okay, I want you to give yourself permission to feel exactly what you're feeling. I don't try to push it away or pretend it's not there. Don't force yourself to be happy or positive when you're not. Take the time you need to feel what you're feeling and allow yourself the space to process it. It's okay to take a break from the expectations of others. It's okay to say no to things that drain you, to withdraw for a little while, to focus on taking care of yourself. It's also okay to reach out for help when you need it. Admitting that you're not okay doesn't make you weak, it makes you strong. It means you have the wisdom to know when you need support. Asking for help is an act of self-compassion. It's acknowledging that you don't have to go through this alone. There is no shame in reaching out to a friend, a family member, a therapist, or anyone else who can offer a listening ear, advice, or comfort. Healing doesn't have to be a solitary process. You don't have to carry the weight by yourself. And here's something else to remember. Being not okay doesn't mean you'll always feel this way. Feelings are temporary. They ebb and flow. Sometimes you may feel overwhelmed with sadness or anxiety, but that doesn't mean you're destined to feel that way forever. Healing takes time. It takes patience. It's a process of rediscovering your inner peace, of learning how to cope, and of building resilience. It's okay to not be okay today, but that doesn't mean tomorrow will be the same. Every day is a new opportunity to move forward, even if it's just one small step. The truth is that no one has it all together all the time. We all go through difficult seasons. We all experience moments of doubt, sadness, or frustration. You are not alone in this. And it's okay to not be okay. You don't need to apologize for your feelings, and you don't need to feel ashamed of them. You are allowed to feel what you feel, and you are allowed to take the time you need to heal. So, if you're not okay right now, that's okay. Take a deep breath. Be gentle with yourself. Let yourself feel what you're feeling without judgment. Know that this moment is just at a moment. And while it may feel heavy now, it won't last forever. You are not defined by your struggles. You are defined by your strength, your resilience, and your willingness to keep going, even when things feel difficult. It's okay to not be okay. And that's more than okay, it's human. We live in a world that often equates success with perfection. We are bombarded with images of flawless lives, people who seem to have everything together, people who excel in every area of their lives. Social media advertisements and even the stories we tell ourselves contribute to this constant pressure to be perfect. We feel like we need to be perfect parents, perfect workers, perfect friends, perfect partners. Perfection becomes the standard, the goal we strive toward, and the ideal we think we must meet to be worthy, valued, or loved. But the truth is, progress is far more important than perfection. And in the journey of life, embracing progress over perfection is one of the most powerful shifts we can make for our own well-being and growth. Perfectionism can be a double-edged sword. On the one hand, it can drive us to achieve, to push ourselves to be the best version of ourselves. But on the other hand, it can also paralyze us with fear. It can make us feel like every mistake is catastrophic, like we have to do everything perfectly or else we failed. This mindset leads to frustration, self-doubt, and ultimately burnout. When we hold ourselves to the impossible standard of perfection, we set ourselves up for disappointment. Because perfection doesn't exist. It's a fleeting illusion, a fantasy we chase that never quite materializes. And the harder we chase it, the more we lose sight of the beautiful, messy, and imperfect journey that is real life. What if instead of striving for perfection, we focused on progress? What if we measured our success by the steps we've taken, the growth we've experienced, and the lessons we've learned, rather than the outcome or the result? Imagine how liberating it would be to let go of the need for everything to be flawless and simply acknowledge that every small step forward is a victory. Imagine what it would feel like to be kinder to yourself when you make mistakes, to celebrate your progress instead of berating yourself for not getting everything just right. When we embrace progress over perfection, we allow ourselves the grace to be human, to learn, to grow, and to evolve. The journey of personal growth is rarely linear. It's full of twists and turns, highs and lows, and moments of both triumph and failure. But each of those moments is part of the process. Every step, whether it feels like forward momentum or a setback, contributes to the bigger picture of who we are becoming. Perfection, by contrast, leaves no room for mistakes, for learning, for vulnerability. It creates an environment where anything less than flawless feels like failure, and that's a heavy burden to carry. But when we prioritize progress over perfection, we shift our focus to what truly matters, the process itself. Consider the process of learning a new skill. When we start something new, whether it's learning an instrument, starting a new job, or taking up a new hobby, we don't expect to be perfect at it right away. We know that we will make mistakes, that we will stumble along the way. We give ourselves permission to be beginners, to take things one step at a time, and to embrace the learning curve. Yet when it comes to our personal lives, we often expect immediate results. We expect ourselves to be perfectly put together at all times, to have all the answers, to be strong and capable every moment of every day. But why do we hold ourselves to such high standards in areas where perfection is impossible? And more importantly, why do we punish ourselves when we don't live up to those impossible standards? Instead of measuring our success by perfection, we should be measuring it by the progress we've made. Progress doesn't require perfection, it requires effort, patience, and persistence. It's about showing up even when things aren't perfect. It's about being kind to yourself when you fall short of your expectations. It's about acknowledging the small wins, the incremental changes, and the moments of growth that often go unnoticed. Perfection doesn't allow room for growth that expects instant results. Progress, on the other hand, is built over time through consistent effort and learning from our mistakes. The most meaningful and lasting changes in life don't happen in a vacuum. They don't occur in the absence of challenges, mistakes, or setbacks. Instead, they occur in the context of real life, the messy, imperfect, beautiful experience of being human. When we focus on progress, we embrace the idea that failure is not the end of the road. It's part of the journey. We learn from our mistakes, we pick ourselves up, and we try again. Each mistake is an opportunity for growth. Each misstep is a chance to get a little bit closer to the person we're becoming. When we shift our focus from perfection to progress, we can stop beating ourselves up every time we don't get it right. Instead, we can celebrate the fact that we're trying, that we're learning, and that we're moving forward, even if it's at a pace that feels slower than we'd like. In reality, perfection is a moving target. No matter how much we achieve, how many goals we reach, there will always be something more to chase. We can always strive for more, work harder, or aim higher. But in doing so, we miss the joy of the journey. We miss the lessons in the struggle. We miss the beauty of the present moment. Progress, on the other hand, is something we can celebrate right now. Every small step forward is a sign that we are on the right path. Every challenge we face, every obstacle we overcome, is a testament to our resilience, our strength, and our ability to adapt. When we start to value progress over perfection, we also begin to embrace the process of self-compassion. We stop being so harsh with ourselves. We stop focusing on our shortcomings and start recognizing our strengths. We begin to celebrate the fact that we're doing our best, even when it feels like we're not doing enough. We stop comparing ourselves to others and instead focus on our own growth, our own journey, our own timeline. Everyone's path is different, and there is no one-size-fits-all approach to success or happiness. By letting go of perfection, we give ourselves permission to be imperfect. We allow ourselves to be human. One of the most liberating aspects of focusing on progress instead of perfection is that it allows us to be more present in our own lives. Perfectionism often has us fixated on the future, on the what-ifs and shoulds. We become so focused on achieving the next goal, reaching the next milestone, that we forget to appreciate the present moment. We miss the small joys, the lessons, and the beauty that exists right now. When we prioritize progress, we free ourselves from the constant need to perform and achieve. We give ourselves permission to enjoy the journey, to appreciate where we are right now, and to take pride in the steps we've already taken. This shift toward progress is especially important when it comes to mental health and personal growth. We often want to be better immediately. We want to feel happy, fulfilled, and whole without giving ourselves the time to heal, grow, and work through our challenges. We expect ourselves to be perfect, to have everything figured out, to be over our struggles quickly. But healing and growth take time. They take effort. They take patience. And they are far from linear. There will be setbacks. There will be days when it feels like we're not making any progress at all. But when we focus on progress over perfection, we stop demanding instant results. We allow ourselves the time we need to heal. We give ourselves the space to move forward at our own pace, to learn from our experiences, and to be gentle with ourselves in the process. As we begin to prioritize progress over perfection, we also start to redefine what success really means. Success isn't about achieving some idealized version of ourselves or our lives. It's about growth, learning, and resilience. It's about showing up every day, even when things aren't going the way we want. It's about embracing our imperfections, acknowledging our mistakes, and continuing to move forward, no matter how small the steps may be. Success is not about being perfect. It's about being persistent, being present, and being patient with ourselves as we continue on our journey. We need to remember that life is not a race. There's no timeline for when we should have it all figured out, when we should have everything perfect, when we should have reached the peak of success. Life is a journey, and every step we take, no matter how imperfect, is progress. It's about showing up for ourselves every single day, even when things are difficult. It's about learning, growing, and adapting. It's about taking pride in how far we've come, even when we haven't reached our ultimate destination. In the end, it's not perfection that matters, it's progress. And when we embrace progress over perfection, we allow ourselves to be free. Free from the pressure to be perfect. Free to grow, to evolve, and to enjoy the journey of becoming the best version of ourselves. Self-love and patience are often seen as abstract concepts, things we read about in inspirational quotes or hear in self-help books. But rarely do we stop to truly understand what they mean, or more importantly, how to practice them in our daily lives. In a world that constantly pushes us to do more, be more, and achieve more, it's easy to forget the importance of taking care of ourselves in the process. We are taught to look outward for validation, to measure our worth by external achievements, approval from others, or the possessions we acquire. But self-love isn't about any of that. It's about looking inward, embracing who we are at our core, and treating ourselves with the same kindness, patience, and compassion that we so easily extend to those we love. It's about recognizing our own worth and understanding that we are deserving of care, respect, and gentleness. And it's about having the patience to understand that growth, healing, and true transformation take time. For so many of us, the idea of self-love feels like a distant concept, something we believe we'll get to once everything else falls into place. We tell ourselves that we'll love ourselves when we lose the weight, get the job, find the right partner, or reach some other external milestone. We postpone self-love, believing that we don't deserve it in the present moment because we're not yet who we want to be or haven't achieved what we think we should. This mindset is a trap. It keeps us from truly appreciating ourselves as we are in the present moment, flaws and all. Self-love is not something to be earned through accomplishments. It is something to be practiced daily, regardless of our circumstances. The truth is that you are worthy of love, care, and compassion right now in this very moment, just as you are. You don't have to wait for perfection. You don't have to wait for a certain outcome. You can choose to love yourself now, even in the midst of your imperfections and struggles. To love yourself means to accept who you are at a deep level, to acknowledge both your strengths and your weaknesses, and to recognize that you are enough, just as you are. It means giving yourself permission to be human. This is crucial because we often expect more from ourselves than we would ever expect from anyone else. We hold ourselves to impossible standards, and when we inevitably fall short, we punish ourselves with harsh self-criticism, guilt, or shame. We expect ourselves to be perfect, to be flawless in our actions, our decisions, our relationships, and our careers. But the truth is that nobody is perfect. We all make mistakes. We all experience setbacks, and we all have areas of our lives where we struggle. And that's okay. In fact, it's essential to understand that these imperfections don't make us any less worthy of love or respect. It's the acceptance of our own flaws and imperfections that allows us to move forward, to grow, and to heal. Self-love is not about being narcissistic or selfish. It is not about putting yourself above others or treating your needs as more important than those of the people around you. Rather, self-love is about acknowledging your own worth, taking care of your own needs, and giving yourself the space to be exactly who you are without judgment. When you love yourself, you give yourself permission to rest when you're tired, to say no when something doesn't serve you, and to prioritize your mental, emotional, and physical well-being. Self-love is about creating boundaries that protect your peace and about filling your own cup before you pour into others. Only when you are taking care of yourself can you show up fully for others, whether that's in your relationships, your work, or your community. But self-love is not always easy. It requires patience. It requires the willingness to sit with discomfort, to confront the parts of ourselves that we often want to ignore or push away. It requires compassion in the face of our own mistakes, setbacks, and struggles. Self-love asks us to soften the voice of self-criticism and replace it with a kinder, more compassionate inner dialogue. It requires time and effort to unlearn the negative self-talk that we've internalized over the years. For many of us, this process is slow, and that's where patience comes in. Patience is a key component of self-love because it allows us to approach ourselves with gentleness and understanding. When we are patient with ourselves, we give ourselves the time and space to grow without rushing or forcing change. Patience allows us to see that healing and growth are not linear processes. There will be days when we take 2 steps forward and 1 step back, and that's okay. We don't need to have everything figured out today. We don't need to be perfect today. What matters is that we are showing up for ourselves, taking care of ourselves, and doing the best we can, even if it doesn't always feel like enough. Patience allows us to trust the process of our own growth, knowing that it takes time to shift patterns, heal wounds, and create lasting change. The journey of self-love and patience is deeply personal. It requires us to be honest with ourselves about where we are and where we want to go. It asks us to reflect on the ways in which we have treated ourselves in the past and to make a conscious decision to do better. It may involve letting go of past hurts, forgiving ourselves for mistakes, and choosing to show up as our authentic selves, even when it feels scary. But it's a journey that is worth taking because the more we love ourselves, the more we can cultivate peace, resilience, and joy in our lives. And the more patient we are with ourselves, the more we can honor our own unique process of growth without the pressure of meeting someone else's timeline or standard. This journey also teaches us the importance of self-compassion. Too often we reserve compassion for others but are hard on ourselves when we struggle. We are quick to forgive our friends, our family, and even strangers for their mistakes, but when it comes to ourselves, we hold ourselves to much higher standards. Self-compassion is about recognizing that we too are human and deserving of the same care and understanding that we give others. It means offering ourselves the same kindness that we would offer a dear friend who is struggling. When we practice self-compassion, we are able to respond to our challenges with care and empathy, rather than with criticism and judgment.